Hi, it's me, Sarah, and we are back with STEM at Home. And so today we're going to be focusing on using something you might have in your house, and that is actually yeast. And so I'm going to show you some different experiments you can do. If you don't have yeast at home, if you have the ability to go out and get it and bring it home, you can use it with different things that you'll find throughout the household to do some pretty cool experiments. So the first one that you're going to do, I'm going to show you this. It's a little strange looking right here. So basically what I've done is I took some yeast, I put it in warm water, and I buy the yeast that actually comes in the jar because you get a lot more in there for your experiments. And then I put that in warm water inside of an empty soda bottle, and then I put a little bit of sugar inside of it as well, mixed it up, and then I put a balloon on top. So when this first started, the balloon was actually deflated. And the reason we put the balloon on is we're actually showing that the warm water and the sugar, all of that reacts. The yeast actually is eating the sugar, and it's actually releasing oxygen. And so that's why you get this balloon that's actually inflating up here. It takes a little bit of time, so this is a cool experiment that you can set up and leave out on the counter and actually see this happen over time. So again, you're going to use that soda bottle, yeast, warm water, sugar, and a balloon. All right, so for our next experiment, we're going to continue to use yeast, but this time we're going to switch over and we're actually going to use hydrogen peroxide. So this is 3% hydrogen peroxide that you use at home. And so what I just did is I actually like to dye mine different colors just for fun. And I took about a tablespoon of yeast and I put it inside of a Ziploc bag. I like to use a snack size bag because for this experiment it inflates a lot faster because it's smaller. So what's going to happen is we're going to put hydrogen peroxide in the bag with the yeast. And the yeast is going to be what we call a catalyst, and it's actually going to speed up the release of oxygen from our hydrogen peroxide, and we're going to fill up the bag with oxygen. So we're going to go ahead and do that. This works really well if you have kids for this experiment, if you help each other out, because sometimes sealing up the bag is a little bit challenging, but you can already see that it's already starting to foam up inside the bag. If you want to actually give it a little bit of a shake, you can, and so we can actually shake this up, and our bag is actually going to start to inflate because we are making oxygen inside the bag. Now, I will tell you a couple things. Number one, if it starts to look like the bag is getting too big and it's going to pop, you're actually probably going to want to put that down and just step back. It's not going to hurt you or anything like that, but it is going to smell kind of gross if it gets on you. The other thing, though, is you do want to actually put your hands on the bottom of the bag. You don't want to squeeze it because you don't want to pop the bag, but if you put your hands on the bottom of the bag, you're going to notice this is what we call an exothermic reaction. So the bag is actually going to get warm as it happens because this reaction releases heat. And again, we get into that conversation about physical and chemical changes. So a physical change for this experiment was I dyed the hydrogen peroxide blue. It's still hydrogen peroxide, just a different color. Chemical reaction is the actual production of oxygen that's happening and the release of heat. So that's the exothermic reaction. So really cool experiment. I'm going to go ahead and open our bag so we don't have any surprises as we move on. And I'm just going to set that to the side right there. All right, so the next one we're going to do right here is actually going to be elephant toothpaste. And so I like to call it dinosaur toothpaste because I like dinosaurs. And so for this one, I'm going to do two versions. So we have kind of a mild version where we're still using that 3% hydrogen peroxide. And then we have a little bit of a stronger version where we're using hydrogen peroxide you would get at the beauty supply store. And so if you're like me and you dye your hair at home, you might actually have some of this on hand. You do want to be careful when handling this because it can do chemical burns. So you definitely probably want to have an adult pouring this. And then I just have empty soda bottles. And so for this one, this has my 3% hydrogen peroxide. This has what we call 30 volume. So that is actually going to be 9% hydrogen peroxide. And I put it inside the bottles. And then I'm going to add a little bit of dish soap. So we're going to put some dish soap in here. And we're going to put some dish soap in this one as well. Now, this is definitely an experiment that you want to be prepared to clean up messes when you do this because this is going to actually be, it's the same as the Ziploc bag. So that little Ziploc bag where we made the oxygen inside the bag, we're still going to be making oxygen because I have my yeast. It's inside this cup with a little bit of warm water, but now I've added soap. So you're going to get a fizzy, foamy reaction, which is why we call it dinosaur or elephant toothpaste. It's like when you brush your teeth, you get lots of fizzies and foamies. So we're going to go ahead and try this out here. So here we go. And we're going to pour that in, and we're going to swirl that up, and we're going to kind of wait for that reaction to happen. It's a little bit slower on the small one, but you can see that level that's starting to rise up. And then we're going to go in this one. This one has our 30 volume, which is going to be your 9%, and you're going to see that one's going to go up much faster, and it's going to start to come out of the bottle, and we're going to get that really cool fizzing, foaming reaction that's going to happen. So obviously if you use a stronger hydrogen peroxide, it's going to go a lot faster. This one is coming up, it's just taking a little bit longer time. So we're going to go ahead and let that keep happening I'm just going to go ahead and wipe my hands off. There is no off switch with this experiment, so once it starts happening, it's going to keep going. So like I said, just make sure that you have a good workspace, that you don't mind getting a little bit messy. I'm going to switch over to our last experiment over here. So we're still working with yeast, and so I'm actually going to switch over to something really fun that you guys can do at home, which is you can use yeast to make pretzels. So we're getting into a little bit of what we call culinary chemistry. All kinds of cooking is actually chemistry, because again, chemical change when you bake and cook things. So what you're going to want to do is take some of that yeast and you're going to put it in warm water, and I will again put this recipe on our website, so at the imag.org. And so we're going to take about 1.5 cups of warm water. You can heat it up in the microwave, and you're going to mix in your yeast. You can do a packet of yeast, or you can use it from the jar. Mix that in, let it sit for a little while, and then what you're going to do is you're going to use, we used flour, and then I also used sugar and salt. And so you're going to mix all those ingredients together. Again, recipe will be on the imag.org, and you're going to make your pretzel dough. So pretzel dough, what you're going to do is mix all those ingredients together. I actually let mine sit in a bowl. It's going to get really big and puffy because of the yeast that you put in. It's going to make it rise. I love that the foam is still going. So you're going to make your pretzel dough, and then what you're going to do is you can actually tear off bits of that dough. Obviously, please wash your hands first. I'm just doing this really fast for a video, but if you're going to be handling food, you want to make sure you wash your hands. Hands are clean, and we're not doing anything else while we do this. This is just my demo dough right here. But you can actually break off pieces of this, and then you can kind of roll it, shape it, make all these fun shapes that you want to use, put them on a tray. I actually have one that happens to be over here in the oven. Look at that, it just happens to be done. All right, so we're going to pull this out of the oven. And so, you can kind of get a look there. I have one of my pretzels here that's actually just been finished. And I have a couple from earlier today where I was just making examples. So I have a couple pretzels I actually finished here. So again, they can make funny shapes. I made an S for Sara, S for super, whatever you want to think there. So this is just like a fun way to extend your lesson. The whole time you're working with yeast, you're using it in different ways, and then you end up with a really fun culinary chemistry activity, and you can actually eat your pretzels when you're done, which is pretty cool too. So again, all the directions will be up online. Thank you guys for tuning in today for STEM at Home, and make sure you check out the rest of the programming that's coming up this afternoon. Be sure to comment with any questions you guys have, and then also I would absolutely love to see if you try any of these experiments. Please share them on social media. Go ahead and tag us. I'd love to see what you guys are doing at home. Thanks, and have an awesome day.